What you're about to hear, it's not entertainment. These are real, documented moments. Times when the ordinary world just completely fractured and was replaced by absolute horror. These are the stories that remind us of what can lie just beneath the surface of our everyday lives.
Now, these are not campfire tales made up for a quick scare. This is the recorded reality of lives that were taken and the chillingly calm confessions of the people who took them.
So, our first account is a confession. The words you're about to hear come directly from the killer himself. He's talking about an evening he spent after his gruesome work was done.
He talks about pulling up to his apartment building. His landlord is just standing there, outside, chatting with some friends. And the killer thinks to himself, what if he just opened the trunk, unloaded everything right there? But he doesn't. He just calmly parks the car and decides to only bring a small part of his work inside with him.
Just the heads. He takes them upstairs to his small room, the place he calls home. You know, the most mundane, normal setting you can imagine for the most profane things you could ever see.
He doesn't talk about feeling scared or guilty, not even a hint of remorse. No, instead, he says he feels euphoric. He says that in this moment, looking at what he's done, this profound sense of peace just washes over him. And this, he explains, this is how he gets out of his depressions. And then the quiet is just shattered by this heavy, dense thud. And it's immediately followed by furious banging from the apartment below. It's his downstairs neighbor who's always complaining about the noise, hammering on the ceiling with a broomstick. And that's his reply, shouted right through the floorboards. A darkly perfect excuse, isn't it? It's this private joke that only he can understand, right in the middle of this unimaginable horror. And that is the mind of the man sitting on his bed, admiring his trophies. You know, a solitary killer is one kind of monster. But what happens when that darkness just erupts from inside a family? Well, that brings us to the home of Gregory Fox.
It was the school holidays. On the surface, I'm sure everything looked totally normal. But underneath, this toxic resentment was just simmering. Gregory Fox had become completely consumed by the belief that his wife was cheating on him, that his whole life was a lie. And then one evening, after a walk and a few drinks, it all boiled over.
What started with insults quickly spiraled into just unspeakable violence. A bottle was broken. Gregory used it to slash his wife's throat. He left her right there, to die on the kitchen floor. But his rampage wasn't over. No, it moved upstairs, to his sons' bedrooms.
He found his sons asleep in their beds. The source material says they woke up and they fought back, desperately, trying to fend off their own father. But they just could not escape what's described as his animal fury. Each of them died in his own room. His attempt to take his own life failed. Gregory Fox was sentenced to 3 life sentences, one for each member of the family he annihilated. Now he has a lifetime to remember exactly what he did. Okay. Our final story takes us to this quiet, trusting little town called Rolesville. The population? Just 353 people. This is a place where violent crime had literally never happened. A place where a helping hand was just that. Until a stranger named Michael Ross showed up. He saw a young woman pushing her 7-month-old baby in a stroller, struggling with groceries. And he offered to help. Now, in a town like Rolesville, this is just a kind gesture. So of course she accepted. She never suspected a thing. But when they reached her yard, that mask of kindness just dropped. He threw down the bags, ripped off his own belt, and in one swift motion pulled it tight over her head and started dragging her towards a field. He told her that if she screamed, he would smash her baby's head against a tree. The disconnect between what actually happened to her and what he remembers, it's staggering. He strangled her, first with the belt, then with his bare hands, and just left her for dead. But an hour later, she actually woke up. She managed to crawl across the street to get help. But 3 years later, when Ross was finally caught, this was his memory of it. Just a flicker. Nothing. He later explained his mindset. He said, "She nor anyone else could have done anything once I focused on them. They were dead. Completely." For him, her survival was just a glitch in the system. His victims were already objects. They were already dead the moment he chose them. So, 3 stories. 3 brief glimpses into a darkness that lives right alongside us, often hidden behind the most ordinary faces you could imagine. The quiet neighbor, the family man, the helpful stranger. I mean, really, what drives them?
Is it rage, depression? Is it a complete and total absence of empathy? Or is it something we just simply cannot comprehend? These accounts don't give us any easy answers. They only make the shadows deeper.
The neighbor downstairs, the family across the street, the person who offers you help. These stories remind us that the abyss, it isn't some far-off place. It can be terrifyingly close. So the final question is, do you ever really know who's on the other side?